Hi, this is Tim with ATP Healthcare. Just want to kind of follow up with you all or kind of explain real estate investment trusts and how this is affecting your day-to-day operations for case management. Real estate investment trusts or REITs, um, you are probably very familiar with your operators of your skilled nursing facilities. Could be Genesis, Accordius. Well, Accordius isn't around anymore. But it could be Inspire, Consulates, all those of the world. Um, but they actually they're the operators, but they actually don't own the property in most cases, especially in those organizations. They usually don't own the property at all. They're just running the operations. What they really do is they have to pay a portion, pretty hefty portion of their revenue to these REITs owners. So, so these REITs are again, the real estate investment trusts. These are usually publicly traded companies for most part, and they control a very large portion of your post-acute care um, uh, organizations. From skilled nursing, anything that has brick and mortar is involved in it. There's a very good probability that they are on that ownership. So they typically like to go through use what's called a triple net lease. These owners are essentially these landlords. Like what's called a triple net lease, and it's clearly explain what a triple net lease is. A single net lease, you have a lease agreement, and maybe the operator has to pay a portion of the property taxes, maybe a small portion, but they're also going to be required to, like it says here, take care of some of the maintenance and utilities for the facility. Your double net leases, of course, you're going to have your lease agreement that you have to pay for, but including also in here your property taxes and insurance and of course the rental price. So that's your double net lease. But your triple net lease, which most of your post-acute care facilities or your operators are going to be under, it'll be the property or real estate taxes, building insurance, maintenance, repairs, utilities, everything under the sun, they are responsible for. Okay, and so in that lease, that rent often is tied to the revenue that the building is bringing in too. So there's a portion of that in there. We can, that can break down sometimes that it's nothing, and in some cases we see it as high as 20% that they're taking 20% of whatever the building makes. Send a Medicare patient, $600 a night, they're taking 20% of it right off the top. So it doesn't leave a whole lot for your operators to navigate services that are needed. Essentially, at that point, we're looking at about less than 1% at the end of the day. Your hospital, for example, probably operates at about anywhere from about 1.5 to 2.3% net, annually. That's usually, and that's lean, right? There's definitely hospital systems that are much higher than that, around the 4% region. Well, but I mean, to operate under 1% is very challenging. So we're going to kind of step into, let me see here. That's the facilities. That's so our most well-known REITs in the nation is, of course, to REITs.org, Welltower, Ventas, HCP, Omega Health Investments, and Medical Properties Trust. Medical Properties Trust, that's Steward Healthcare, right? I mean, that's they're involved in there. So there's not just skilled nursing facilities, but there's also hospitals are involved in these ALFs, senior housing. So the ones that kind of specialize in senior housing is going to be your Welltower and your Omega. All right, so 1 in 4, those are they really kind of look more at this, or these at least have a healthy, I should say, senior market. So let's take a look at Omega here. Let's see, that's the facilities. Start off with their stock price over the past 5 years. And this is kind of typical for skilled nursing facilities. So 2017, we're looking at a stock price about $30 a share. It climbed steadily. So February 2020, it was going at $44 a share. And then, of course, about a month later, we dropped down to about $22 a share. So they literally lost half their value in 1 month, right? So that's a lot of census pressure. Of course, we know our skilled nursing facilities, our post-acute care providers, um, they were struggling here. All right. So and and the types of buildings that these types of organizations look for, they look for buildings that are they're going to have a mix. They're usually going to have at least about 10% Medicare population, but they're going to have a substantial long-term care type population because they want that consistent revenue. And of course, we've been closing about 30. So they had a pretty swift recovery. Of course, they're, as everyone's getting paid through PPP or anything like that. But as that started to dry out, of course, we're looking at 29.44 now. So they basically have not moved over the past 5 years. Now we're going to look at, and I apologize, I do work from home. It's nice, isn't it? It's a nice house. So we'll look at Omega Healthcare Investors. Let me go to the other site here. That's their stock price, 29.41. I'll go to this one here. Total in the US facilities, 916 states, 42 foreign countries. They have UK, 63 operators, right? So they have all these operators that they work with. This is sort of like the density. So we see California, Texas, Florida, Mid-Atlantic, and then we have Rust Belt through there. And then we also have England right here. And it kind of gives you a breakdown of where they're mainly found. In this sort of area, this sort of region here, we don't see too much of at least Omega operating. Incidentally, we also see fewer and fewer skilled nurse, LTACs in this area, which is interesting. LTACs, we see a lot of LTACs here. New York, New Jersey, we don't see any LTACs there, right? And it's basically because operators, when they have the ability to do what they need to be able to do, they can operate at a pretty high level. So again, like I said, we don't kind of see LTACs in those regions. And for you though that don't know what an LTAC is, it's a long-term acute care hospital. Now let's go take a look at the properties that they have. So we're going to skip a few pages here. We're going to go down to good old Florida. And let me give this a little bit of a zoom in so you can kind of see this a little bit better. And this gives you an idea of the building system in Florida. So in Florida, we're looking at the Abbey that's going to be in St. Petersburg. So that is an airmid building. Alpine, Avalon Health, Bartow. You can just go right down the list here. Meadows Road. Actually, I'm going to move myself over here. Whoa, there we go. This has Lecanto, Cape Coral, Tallahassee. We go right through here, all the buildings that they're owning. Let's go pick out one. There's Deltona. That's off of Elkham Boulevard. That's going to be a former consulate building that's under Radiant Healthcare now. I'll probably be going back to consulate here shortly. And we go, so that's a consulate. We have Aramid. Let's see, who else do we have here? I don't see any southern buildings, but we have a few others here. So Grand Oaks, that was, of course, that's in Palm Coast. That's another Radiant building. Heritage, Hillcrest. So we kind of go through, we kind of see that these are major operators that are going to use these REITs. Again, Sanford, that's another Airmid building. Signature Courtyard, Signature Health of Ormond. And that's of course, this is back in September 30th. So Signature, I believe, is not with us anymore. So we have a few others here. So we kind of tell us, like, so these major operators are, with Omega, at least in the state of Florida, they have a couple. They have about 100 and that's about 100 and I think I counted 119 last time buildings in Florida. There's 648 skilled nursing facilities entirely in Florida. So we're just about at the 20% mark, and that's just one of those. That's not counting like Welltower and the other REITs. So And if you look at these building census, or at least their bed volumes, we're going to be looking at anywhere, usually on average, a lot of these are 60-bed facilities. But we also have a few. We have the big house for Orlando in here. Orlando Health and Rehab is underneath here also, isn't it? Oak Tree, Orange Park. Actually, I don't see Orlando Health and Rehab, so it might not be. So that might be under a different ownership. So just because the operator has a building, it doesn't necessarily mean it's always going to be the same RET. It could be a different RET. So there's overlap, there's merging of different RETs. So once you have one operator that's working with, you may have different issues going on from, between RET and operator. So in this case, Aramid does strictly use Omega. They use other RETs on top of that. So if you're looking at how that structured deal is, the RET is going to get paid no matter what. They're going to get paid. And if the operator isn't making it happen, they move that operator out and they put another one of their 63 some odd operators that they work with in their place. So that doesn't necessarily say, hey, are you guys going to be doing dialysis now or anything like that? Because again, that operator is only looking at about 1%, profit. And that's due to all their capital improvements, raises or anything like that. That's going to come out of that fund. Makes it really, really challenging to do it at that point, right? So what you want to do is you want to go back to that RET operator. To that RET ownership group and say, hey, why don't we sit down and talk about what services are needed in this area? We need dialysis. We need trachs. We need buildings that can do both. We need behavioral health, right? And they say this is the market opportunity for your organization, and encourage a restructuring of their deal that would allow for them. So we were able to we work with a dialysis provider, and kind of led into our discussion from last time. And what we're doing is we are putting dialysis centers, clinics into these skilled nursing facilities. This dialysis provider is doing the build out, so that's saving the operator a lot. But they're also contracting with area hospitals, so the hospitals can use it as a specific, essentially as an outpatient dialysis, because DaVita isn't taking this patient anymore for whatever reason, because DaVita wants to shoot themselves in the foot any opportunity that they can. And this is helping both the hospitals and the post-acute care providers. Again, I do work from home. Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate it. I got my highlighter. And so that's what we were able to do. We were able to bring the parties to the table and have them communicate and rework a deal that's beneficial for everyone. That's our time. If you want to kind of discuss this a little bit further, feel free to reach out to me anytime, or just shoot me an email, or just give us a call here at ATP Healthcare. Hope you have a wonderful day, and look forward to speaking with you all again.